do not go by buzzwords and do not go by trend. Solve problems. And if you are curious to solve problems, and problems will come near. That's the fundamental way to keep going.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode where we have a truly inspiring guest with us. We have Mr. Dipan Mehta, sir, and he is the Associate Vice President of Product Engineering. So it has worked for over 20 years with, you can say, video compression, machine learning, and many more. And did I mention that he holds literally 4 patents? Truly a legend, sir. Thank you so much for actually coming to the campus, giving us your time. And it's inspiring for us and the students to have you here and to learn so many things from you. So before we start anything, you had an interaction with our BTech students. So what was the aura that you felt with them and the campus aura that you are feeling now?
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I saw the energy. I think I wish I had college in my days of this time, right? It's very important to sort of have, industry interact with academia, something I always truly missed early days of my education. But this setup, I realized it's great, right? So it was great working with these students, and it was great having this session.
So they were in their second year. So were they able to answer some of your questions being at that level?
I was only focusing on what people should really think about. I don't think there was any person which were having any quiz kind of an answers. Or rather, I wanted to have them question, right? So I think they duly asked. I think today's generation of students, early part of their graduation also, thinking about startup, thinking about whether the plan is I think significant. It's no longer about what's there in the syllabus, what's sort of what kind of skill that you develop, but also how you're going to apply it and what kind of career you're going to make out of. So that awareness was significant and quite impressive.
Got it, sir. So I also wanted to know, you are at this so big leadership position right now. So how did this entire journey take place? Was it something that you had planned for yourself, or was it like, okay, I'll just go with the flow however it is?
You don't plan for this.
Yes.
Not that I ever made, it not really ever work out. Okay, so I think you look for opportunities which comes in your way, and you know what matters to you, right? So I think a lot of things that I did was like training program, honestly. So when I finished my MTech from IIT Bombay, a deep recession year, I decided that I want to be on a startup. I want to be in entrepreneurial journey rather than really going behind a corporate job at that time. That 3-4 years that I spent there was more like a training program. Okay, because I just learned a lot of stuff which I was never been exposed to first. Then I moved to industry. I think I had a long journey with one of the startups for Viewbytes, so I was like, I was wanting to do something interesting. I was not really looking at what should I do. And then one fine day I got a call saying that, okay, you know what, there is something which CEO of Daily.com wants to talk to you, and you want to do something. And so opportunities come like this, and you should know when to spot. Another 11 years almost was for that position. So I have gone from place to place simply because I was just searching for something interesting to work. That's it. So I don't think anything was a planned thing, but yes, I was always interested in learning more stuff, doing something more interesting, doing something next and new. That's how I just kept on moving. That's what. There is no other sort of formula for it.
Got it, sir. So many students have myth, there is a 50-50, you can say, a ratio towards it. Some wants to go ahead with their own startup, their own business, right after their bachelor's. Some are like, no, I'll be working in some big fang and mang kind of companies. And so, do you really recommend these students to go ahead either with their startup if they have an idea, or have at least some or the other years of experience and then you can think of your own startup?
So there is no formula. There is no one right way to build career or life. I think what you should really understand, these are the early days in your life. So you will always have plenty of time to learn, make mistakes, evolve, and most importantly, do soul searching. Only one thing that I never had a regret on is that I never stop doing soul searching on what is it that I want to do next. Okay? What is it that I can do differently, right? So you should always keep asking things and do not go by a trend. Do not have a pool, right? Don't think, okay, if all my friends are doing startups, is a cool thing, should I be taking up a corporate job? No, it's not like it is. Of course, that at the same time, of course, you don't say, okay, I have got this planned out. I'll have this many years, then I do this, then I do that. Those things also don't work out. Right? So do not try to be rigid in terms of how it has to be. Otherwise, if things don't go that way, you'll be probably, sort of hesitant, or you would be sort of, upset about it. And at the same time, if you just try to do what everybody else around you doing, you're going to be put yourself in the spot, because that's not what you effort will come in your way when you signed up for that, right? So I think the most essential thing for anyone to build a career of his or her choice is to really know what ticks them, what really makes them happy, right? What is one chore they can keep on doing without getting fed up, without getting tired, without really getting to, have enough of it, right? That will essentially be the direction for you to do it. Sometimes you are naturally good at a smaller companies where things are more informal.
Yeah.
Sometimes you are risk takers. It's great that you have skill and you build your own startup and you really enjoy it. Sometimes you are actually better off with systems around you. So it's always the kind of a personality you are. It's always a kind of, what kind of person you have, what kind of desires you have for yourself, and what kind of talent you want to acquire as you go proceed. Learning does not stop. Okay, so you will keep on discovering new phenomena in society. You will keep on discovering new technologies. You will keep on discovering new ways of working, right? You will keep on adapting to those things. I think there is no one particular formula on how everything works. But in all of this constant is one thing, is that what you want to do is really define who you are and how you will chase those things. So the more you pick up there, more you have those answers.
Perfect, sir. Now, how you just explained everything tells us why you actually own 4 patents. So coming on that part, I want to know, not many engineers have their own patent, and you literally have 4. So how did everything happen, and which is that one of those patents that you are very proud of? I mean, we would want to know all 4.
So it was actually part of the same platform. I think it was 4 patents because there were 4 separate sections of the problem, but it is actually the working system. That's
Okay.
one thing I'm still more or less still proud of, the best thing probably I've done so far. So I'll tell you about what that actually patent actually is. If you know how television broadcast works, you have broadcasters which upload, mix the television beep to the satellite. And then from the satellite everywhere in India, that beam goes up. Typically, everybody does not have satellite antennas for that home, so they basically rely on cable operators.
Yes.
Essentially, the cable operators take all the channels, put together in a bunch of pipe, and then it goes to everyone's home. So you get like 200 channels on your television set.
Yeah.
At that juncture, is every local place, you have those beep coming in before it goes more. So the technology that we developed is that at that time, if I can, for a short, intercept that heat. So for example, there's an advertisement of 30 seconds, right? Which is also going to be part of it. So everybody's watching a match, but everybody's watching the news. But that 30 seconds, we replace different ads in Bombay versus different ad in Delhi and Bangalore and so on. So you could be having like a Kalyan Jewelers in this thing, or you could have a different advertiser in different city. What it means is that we could essentially have advertisers from different cities which are local in their brand, locally coverage. They don't want to have a national TV, but they would want to have a local ad in a television confirmed media, right? Now I'll talk about the tech part. So you have, we had 10 channels signed up. So your 10 channels are coming to your system and it is a live feed. You disrupt anything, you'll see a black screen or something that you have to be very, very sure of. So it's a real-time system that you have to build. Now you have to identify the exact frame where that ad slot starts with. So there's a national ad which essentially gets replaced by a local ad, and it has to replace exact number of frames, exact point where the audio starts. These things are MPEG streams, compressed things. If you decode and re-encode and all that, it will actually destroy your quality. So we had an algorithm which will do it, break it, and stitch it without essentially duplicating and decoding that stuff.
Is it something that you have to take care manually every single time?
You cannot do, because in a live TV, so it's an algorithm that take care of itself and do it. Now, conventionally, some of this tech existed in US, a decade ago, but these are giant hardware platforms, which real-time systems, and they cost a bomb. So in Indian kind of a scenario, it would simply not work out economically. We did this whole thing on a PC. Okay? So the idea was to have a beam coming into your PC in real time, put everything in software, put the beam back, and it will go home. And in your TV, you would not see a glitch. You will not see any sort of hint of any kind of an editing that has been done by real time. And you will not see any change in sync and volume of the audio and all of that. But it's all algorithm which essentially does encrypt. The biggest, hardest part of it is that there is timing requirements, clock requirements that MPEG streams have, right? Which is very, very hard to reconstruct in a PC environment. We had to invent ways in which we do these things mathematically, algorithmically, as opposed to relying on hardware clocks, because they're just too slow, right? That was the patent about. So that's why we created a way which is sort of, different from how conventionally the systems are built.
So how did you come up with this big idea? Because right now when I'm actually listening to it, I can understand, okay, being a consumer, being someone who is sitting in front of the TV, we do not see any of those glitches coming. So at the back end, how did you maintain all these things? How did you take the real time and, just go forward with it?
The business idea was with, Mr. Balakrishnan, who is CEO and the executive platform, and he has this vision of how to do this, right? I think my capability in terms of tech comes from the fact that I was majoring image and video processing. There's a lot of maths that essentially goes into how these MP streams are compressed and relayed and so on, and there's a whole bunch of algorithms that we have achieved. And so that, fortunately, I think I applied a lot of that learning in this process. That's how we learned this.
So was there any similar project that you had worked before, or was it like?
So I had tried to create one of the things that I was trying to build in my own very early days startup was to essentially apply computer vision on security cameras that we could actually capture the crime as it happens, sort of, right? So to date, I think you still have cameras which figure out whether somebody is there or not, some sort of motion is there or something, and some basic fire or something are detected. But I wanted to really do something more analytics in the comfort, human motion, stuff like that. Still, I think it's still at a very fancy stage, and in today's market as well. But that was something which I wanted to do during the learning time.
Will you be doing it in upcoming years?
I think maybe time to now.
Okay, that is something that we can expect in future. Okay, so.
But I think the crux is not really about vision or audio or anything like this. I think crux is about solving problems. Solve interesting problems, which is why whenever I was looking for any kind of a career break or sort of a career option, I was never looking at, designations or roles or something. I was always primarily looking at what kind of a problem that you're trying to solve. That is what always excited me. What actually keeps me going. I will stay in a place when there is new interesting problems, being solved.
So, you have so many years of great experience. You might have seen how technology has evolved. So how did you yourself adapt to so many changes, and then you have worked on so many new things?
So, see, first of all, this technology bandwagon thing, right? Of course, it helps people adopt things and all. But by the time you your technology bandwagon, it's generally old, and that's not what really matters, right? So do not go by buzzwords or do not go by trends, right? And don't let FOMO develop in. That's the first thing. Learn basics. That's more important, right? So for example, much of the cloud that you see talk about today, and of course now by the time, I think by now cloud is also mature and it is gone into hype and then out of hype. When I was in Ubers, I was searching for ways in which I can scale up things much faster, right? So I used to speak to, the senior engineers of that time in broadcast industry, okay, and they would set up a huge bunch of infrastructure everywhere. And they're like, if you want to do these kind of projects, it's like some, $100,000, so on. Where will you get all this capex from? How will you actually create infrastructure? Who will manage all this infrastructure? I said, no resource, right? And so that's why when we started operating in 10 different locations, right? And we had a very rich staff. I had this 30 people who were doing development, rolling out things, managing infrastructure, physical hardware infrastructure, as well as software deployments and everything, right? We know that, okay, I'm not going to have 5,000 people or 500 people here, right? We're going to have small number of teams, but we learn smart.
Right.
So we started doing things which today is being called DevOps.
Okay.
So the 10 was of having an automated deployments across 300 servers and wanted to have a progression on figure out that which one failed, which one worked, and so on. Today we people call about a lot of names around it. We used to do it because of we solved this problem because it occurred to us. That's it, right? I think the whole dictionary of cloud, all those things didn't exist, right? I learned AI and I was interested in AI since my IT days, even before that, and so on. So I've been learning about these things, and these things don't come and go just like that. It's all about basics, right? So I learned Python very earlier days in my MTech. Then I relearned that whole thing all over again. I still want to learn a few more programming languages, which is still like sort of in my wish list. But it just helps. It just because if you want to solve more interesting problems and you want to solve problems which are new problems and new and exciting problems, right? You will automatically get to the top of these things. You do not have to chase, okay, what this is becoming what domain? Let me get a course on it. Let me put something in my resume. It's a probably wrong way of really looking at the opportunity. You just try to pick a problem and it solves. And after that, there are things that I wanted to do, which is still in my wish list, but they'll come maybe in the time to come. Maybe right now, this is an interesting problem to see. Go solve it. You will learn a whole bunch of plethora around it. And there are no markers. Okay, here is when I do cloud. Here is when I do backend engineering. Here is when I make platforms now. It is all interconnected. So your ability to solve engineering problems will go a long way in any field, and that remains common.
So you are one of the innovative persons I've ever spoke right now. Like, I came to know so many things just sitting here within 10 to 15 minutes. Now, just imagine if there are many students or many people like me or students in their first or second year who want to innovate many such things, but we really do not know how to start, where to start. So any advice would you give to us?
I used to get horrible grades in my college. Like, everybody thinks that you need to be a topper in your college to be at the par with getting these exciting things to
grades won't help.
So it's not that grades is anything bad to go with. Not really questioning that people who have great grades has anything to go wrong with it. But I think the most important thing is curiosity, right? If you are curious to solve problems, and I recruit people. I recruit a lot of people. Every company I go, generally there is some sort of team building that I have to do. One of the most fundamental things I look for is that, okay, if the person has that drive and curiosity and has an affinity to solve problems, more problems will come near. That's the fundamental way to keep going. Correct? I could have been the moment you start rating yourself in terms of comparing with others or getting certain things in your resume, fail. There are people who make great career out of it, wrong about that fact. That okay, that is what gets into the market. But I think if you want to really enjoy solving problems or enjoy doing whatever it is, be there, and things will follow. Like the classic quote from Alan Border is that you keep scoring runs, the money will follow, right? That will always be there. I think you will always get these other things coming your way when you establish yourself as a good problem. I think for an engineers, for even business people, right? Being able to pick the problem and solve it, you will get a lot of people who take you.
So I want to know, according to you, what importance does networking have, especially for, early students or people who are still at the learning stage?
It always helps. Networking helps everybody. And networking is always useful. It depends on how you do it. It depends on... I am not somebody great in networking. Probably over the years, built connections with people in the industry. But I when I started, I think it is one of the things I really naturally lacked, because I've never really reached out to people. Social media didn't exist most of the time that time. But I think largely knowing 10 people versus, couple of people who are very close to you might just help you in big way. So if you are connected with somebody with a drive sort of a connection, it's one thing, right? Looking for opportunities is I know there are a lot of people who will ping me in my inbox and say, okay, you are looking for internship opportunity, looking for something. They will always be there. So in whatever way, whenever something matches, I'll always try to pay it forward and do. So it does help opening doors, right? I think what keeps you engaging with people is when you share beyond those things, right? And share beyond just the basic sort of, I would say, key interest in getting the opportunity. More than that, if you are able to share things, you would probably be, people will sort of connect with you and the relationship will grow. It always helps getting to people. But yeah, I think in today's world, that's not really very hard to get it.
If you could invent something, and that too in a day or so, or maybe tomorrow, what would it be?
And that's a tough one. Maybe I could read the mind of people. I don't know. I'm sure the big tech is already on its way. So it's not very, very difficult these days for social media platforms to know what you're thinking. But maybe that's a gadget. I don't know how to do it. So that's why I'm probably be curious to do.
Okay. Any skill or any particular language or tools students should be learning or knowing, especially when they are in their first or second year?
Half the stuff that today would probably become not so critical. So
yeah,
the skill, ability to learn itself is the biggest skill you must acquire. You must keep trying and learning new stuff as it goes, and anything that interests you. And there is going to be plethora, buffet of things which will be always there in engineering. A lot of things in development. You will not want to say, okay, I'm complete. It's about what you like, hope it, and go it. And you will find that everything else is connected.
Connected in a way, yeah.
That will actually give you straight exposure to a lot of stuff. The moment you solve a real industry problem, everything come in your, you will end up learning. So don't try to plan it like a set of series of lectures and stuff. You will learn by solving problems and much easier.
A tech problem that still annoys you?
I think it's still far from solving for physical work. I think the last 10 years, you want to, like a lot of tech that has emerged in last 10 years keeps you at home and keeps you at your bed and
yes,
right?
Yes,
Tech which will actually take you to places physically outside and makes this thing. Like for example, the tech for making metros accessible to handicaps is still probably gets funded much less than whole bunch of AI algorithms and stuff, right? So I would want to be in the woods more than on the bed. If you were to, the tech which essentially takes you to the physical world is always probably.
Actually, after coding, I've seen many of my relatives and friends also. Like now it is more of like they are working from home, being from the tech and engineering background. Yeah, we have work from home, we'll work from 9 to 9, but ghar pe baith ke karna, we'll enjoy that instead of going outside or having much of a connection or, talking or getting exposed to it.
It's not just that, right? So you get all your food and everything delivered. You set your job, if you're out of your couch, you get a lot of stimulus out of the content. you're completely busy doing nothing physical. And more importantly, I think it's more that you were disconnected from nature.
Yes.
Gender, right? Disconnected from sunlight, disconnected from fresh air, disconnected from a whole bunch of physical experiences. Obviously, most of the current tech is actually taking you away from all this, which is not good.
So, are you a morning coder or a midnight debugger?
I am a midnight people.
Okay. So, book or a movie person?
Book.
Book that you've read recently?
Recently, I'm reading one book which is free, which is about startup through experimentation. That's ongoing. But yeah, and then last few months increased my sort of reading marketing.
Okay. If you had to explain AI to a 5-year-old child, how would you do that?
You're standing on a bus stand
Yes.
every single day and taking your school bus, right?
Yes.
Every single day the bus doesn't come exactly at the same time. But you kind of get an idea that, okay, now the bus will come, right? It's because everything that happens, a lot of events that happens, though every time the driver will take a bus for you, there's a different set of journey he's going through. What some different event can happen, but you can predict mostly when things will come, right? A lot of things that we do, whatever we keep, whatever we speak, whatever we see around things, whatever kind of web pages we browse, whatever kind of content we are likely to have, like and dislike or share or not share, all these things. Even though we may think, okay, I'm consciously thinking about it, but it's actually predictable because you have an inherent behavior on how you do this thing, right? AI is set of an algorithm which can actually observe a lot of things from you and then can actually tell you, okay, you are likely to like this, I'm not going to like this.
Yeah.
And it'll then come and give you back. That's it.
So mostly like in recent days, even while speaking to friends or something, I've heard many of the friends go ahead with asking AI, ki, okay, what kind of ideal day can, like I have? So they give out exactly, this is something that you can do, this is something that you can do, pura entire checklist of a day. And it gives out something that you have been doing throughout so many years. So yes, I can totally agree that it reads you and then it gives you what you like and you dislike.
And I think social media and ChatGPT is doing better job than what parents can do.
Yes.
Teenager, if his mother gives him this checklist, where okay, today you better do this, he'd probably not follow.
Yeah.
Go and ask ChatGPT, okay, this is how I should probably do it, and then he'll believe it and he'll probably follow that. So yeah, I mean that is the influence that we have now. This tech has upon us.
If not into tech, then what will you be doing now then?
Maybe I would have been a librarian, but I think by now librarian jobs are gone. So maybe I would have been. I really don't know. I've never really thought about anything else, honestly.
So was it like from your very start days you had the...
It's not that, okay, I know I was born to do this. No, I think no, I just got into engineering and then it started. I just started liking solid problem and then being there. That's it.
Any book or any podcast series that you would recommend these engineering students to have a look on?
So listen to TED Talks, right? I think a lot of TED Talks are not really about engineering, say, but it gives you the most important life perspective. Listen to Google Talks. I generally do those things regularly. There is a YouTube channel called Veritasium, which essentially teaches you real science in a deep way. There is 3 blue, 1 brown, which gives you a very deep visualization of some of the mathematics concepts, which are essential to how actually engineering works. And yeah, there are a lot of content which out there now, which are curated for learning specific things. So whatever works for you, whatever you like, but develop some key interest in some area and you should sort of.
Any hobby that you still practice to get out of the work stress?
Some of it is coding.
Okay. But your work is also related to coding some or the other way?
So I think, see, for me, coding is meditation. So whatever stress, whatever I have, we just on the terminal, dig the world from what is happening to the rest of them. But I think apart from that, yeah, generally it is reading.
Okay.
It's typically reading stuff. Sort of thing.
And would you like to wrap this entire session by giving one small advice to us?
If you want to build your career, right, no one comes prepared. There is no one recipe, so to speak, right? I think many students would probably lose out because they are either trying to copy somebody else, or they gonna develop this, notions which you don't want to do. I think the most important thing you must develop is first principle thinking. Understand and ask the why. People don't like you because you ask a lot of why.
Yes.
But try and really go behind it, ask why. Right? Is that learn to investigate, discover, and sort of appreciate what you really like and care. There are so many things in the world. There are so many things which people all passion or hobby, interest or whatever by letting it goes. Yes, it is important to have something lucrative so that your career goes and you have financial stability and all of this is important, right? But at the same time, you have to really, really you have to like the daily grind of the work is the only thing where you will actually be successful. Correct? So even after 20 years of all the things that I've gone through, if I'm back to coding, I'm happy. So without this, I would have probably never put, right? Of course, it doesn't have to be coding for you. It doesn't have to be technical programming, technical problem solving for you. It can be anything. Finding your own self is the most important ingredient before everything else.
Got it. So thank you so much, sir. It was really insightful and I had a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. Thank you.